Hey, it's funny. Welcome, everyone. Recorded September 6th, 2023. I just noticed generally when the intro comes on, Rod, I squint because it's so loud in my ears. This time I forgot my headphones, so I'm actually
Oh,
doing
I do
DC
need to
speak.
fix that. Somebody mentioned that last week. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why are you
everyone.
at Brody's house?
You know what? I wanted to see if Brody was really working as hard as he said he was. I'm at his house. There's nobody here.
I don't see
I'm,
anybody
I'm
there
helping
besides
myself
you.
to the snacks. I'm playing his piano. I'm doing all this other stuff. Um, but yeah, Brody is working hard for those that
Yeah.
don't know, and he'll probably be on the show a little bit later. But Andrew's not going to make it today. So it's me and you and an interesting guest that I'm sort of, uh, ingrained with, and it speaks close to what I'm doing now as far as my primary role. So I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to let an expert talk about it. But how was your week so far?
Week so far has been good. I think I've talked about this periodically here and other places as well. So, part of several people on a large team working on Microsoft Ignite for in Seattle this year. I do want to note that registration, and people have been asking about this, registration actually opened today. About what time is it? About 2 hours ago, registration opened up. So if you go to ignite.microsoft.com, last year it was designed to be high. Obviously, both are hybrid, but it was designed to be more remote versus in person. This year, it is more in person versus remote. So, for those people that are looking to get out of the office and actually visit a conference where you can meet, shake hands, see people eye to eye, this is the conference to do it. Microsoft Ignite will be in Seattle this year. There is a specific security track, right? So we're actually going to have a security track at Microsoft Ignite this year, and from every Ignite going forward, and that security track will only get bigger and bigger. Also, there's a pre-day this year. So if you go to ignite.microsoft.com and look at the date range for Microsoft Ignite, there is a pre-day, and I would highly suggest that if you want to sit in on some workshops, security, there's some other things going on, that you need to do it quick. You need to register and get access and register for that pre-day quick, because we have limited seating, and if you want to attend, you need to get on there extremely
let,
quick.
let, let me be lazy here. Give me the dates again, including the pre-day.
Man, you did ask me that. Well, you say something while I'm pulling it up. How about that?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a little bit about mine. So, still coming up to speed, learning, doing a couple of things, interesting calls. It's a mind shift a little bit since I'm not doing Sentinel primarily. I'm doing another product, a service rather. So it's been pretty good. I've been labbing a few things out, and I'm actually putting some training together. I was sort of
Oh,
asked,
wow.
yeah, and I'll probably pick your brain about the approach to it. So I'm going to make it like let's see, yeah, probably make it a 4-part training series. Um, Obviously, it's going to include probably 5 parts. Now that I think about it, 5-part training series over the course of 2 weeks, maybe. Strictly internal, and I'll give you without giving it away too soon. And I may it may translate to our audience. So if it works internally well, then maybe we do the show and then we do a webinar of sorts, right? For people that want to see live demos in action and things like that. So I'll test it internally, and then if we can make it broadly available to the audience, our listeners, supporters, and everything, nothing confidential.
Yeah.
It'd be based on the Defender suite plus intra uh, security, and goes without saying, I'm going to go ahead and put Sentinel in this particular training thing that I'm trying to create. So, uh, and it's going to have a different approach. So I'm not teaching you, or I'm not teaching. I'm not exchanging information about how MDE works, how MDO works, how MDI works, how MDA, how intra security. I'm gonna go lazy and say Azure ADP2, but intra
It
P2.
actually took more effort and more air to say it the lazy way.
Yeah, it is. So other than that, giving away equipment. I sent some stuff to Trevor. I'm probably not going to be able to see the chats and everything because for some reason it won't log me into StreamYard this time.
Hmm.
But send something out to Trevor. I got confirmation that it was delivered. I'm not sure if he's on the show tonight. You can see him. But that's it for me. That's it. It's just his demo. We on the, if starting off the new year was 4 laps around the track, I just completed 1 lap, so I'm starting on the next lap around the track, right?
Well, it is early into the fiscal year, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm almost
a couple other things that I wanted to make note, just so people are aware. I'm working on. So people may remember our good friend Maria, who was on here about a year or so ago when we had that cyber board game and stuff like that. So we've worked over the past year or something like that to create a cybersecurity module for Minecraft.
Wow.
So working with her maybe to come on and actually have the Minecraft folks come on and demo that within the next month or so here on the show. So.
Very cool. I haven't played Minecraft.
Oh, no, me neither. I played Starfield just a little bit ago before the show, and it's supposed to be, well, the graphics are much better, but it's supposed to be like a Minecraft for space or sci-fi or whatever. So.
I'll take a look at it. I'm not going to say that I know what Starfield is. I thought it was the old game where you explored the galaxy. Very, very, very basic. But hey, I'd like to get to our guest.
Yeah.
And so we're bringing on a gentleman who's going to talk about a little known service, as you will know it now, but has been around, has evolved, and now it's going to be a major thing in the security, landscape on how Microsoft presents itself and solutions to their customers and make them more resilient, to be a help, to be a true partner in their security operations. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Steve Lee from Microsoft, Customer Experience, CXE, Customer Experience. There you go. And I'll let him finish the introduction. So Steve, thank you so much for coming on. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what you're going to talk about today.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for having me, Edward and Rod. So I'm like Edward said, I'm Steve Lee. I'm from our Microsoft security engineering team focused on specifically Defender experts. I've been at Microsoft since about 2016. And focused here on really security managed services as it relates to providing services on top of the great tooling that Microsoft provides. I think one of the things out there is that customers really value the products and the suites that we have, and you guys probably talk about it a lot here. Now we're focused on how do we help customers from an operations perspective, and that's really augmenting their team to drive those outcome values from a security operations perspective. We'll talk about more as we go along. And so, like you said, we just recently announced Defender Experts last year, and you can think of this as first-party security managed services by Microsoft experts, by human experts. And I'll kind of, Rod, go ahead.
So I think this is important to highlight because I have botched this so many times. And I think other people will too, because we have literally a Defender for everything. So I keep calling it Defender for Experts, and it's not, is it?
No, right. So we love the name Defender. I think we love it so much that anywhere we can append it to some new product, we'll do that. But it's Defender Experts, and then that's the suite name. So Defender Experts, and then we have 2 offerings. So Defender Experts for hunting, which is our proactive 24/7 nonstop threat hunting service. And then there's Defender Experts for XDR, which is our 24/7 managed detection and response service across our XDR platform, also known as MXDR.
MXDR.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am guilty of it too because I'm getting acclimated to the naming. Since for those who don't know, I sort of hinted at it on previous shows. Where my primary focus before was the M365 Defender security stack and Sentinel. I have a new focus. I am a global black belt for Defender Experts hunting and Defender Experts MXDR, manage XDR. Saying acronyms are hard to just
Wow.
phonetically send the thing out. But no, so now that we know the correct terminology for the abbreviation acronym, and you just gave us a high level of what each of those two services are. What are they?
Yeah,
You know,
no,
so
good. Yeah, what is it? So I think we're all familiar with the the different tooling that's available for our customers who are in the security business, right? And so we can talk about, old type of security products. We can talk about what's new and upcoming and what's the shiny security product. And so you can think of those and categorize those as tools. And so, I like to kind of think about any business unit within an organization where you have the tools, you have the people, and then you have the process. So tools are only one part of that. Tools, are great at giving us capability as humans, but they sometimes, oftentimes they won't, take the job to completion, right? What needs to be done. That's where people are running the tools, and then you have the processes in between, the workflows. And so usually that involves multiple people, multiple tools, multiple processes. So what we're talking about is the the tools, and we'll get into some of the tooling that customers would need to have. But Defender Experts is really applying our expertise as Microsoft. So we've been in the SOC business protecting Microsoft for quite a long time. Ever since we've been in business, we got to protect Microsoft. I think customers, know that, but when we say it and you get them to think about, the breadth that Microsoft is, and not we just protect us as employees, but we got to protect our customers too. And you think about all the Azure customers, all the Office 365, Windows customers, consumer customers who are non-commercial. There's quite a bit of digital estate out there that we have to protect, and it's a quite diverse type of ecosystem out there as well. And so we've learned a thing or two about protecting an organization, not just from a tooling perspective, but also from a people and processes perspective. And so we took a lot of those learnings, and even the capability of the people and such, and really kind of leverage that into a service and provide extending that capability, to really provide that SOC service for a customer. And you can take that big word SOC, and there's a lot of functions within the SOC. But typically, when we talk about, in simple terms, there's alerts, alarms that are being fired by all of the security products within an organization. We talked about the tools doing that, but somebody has to go look at that, and that's people. And talking to different customers, you have some resources who have, that capability in house. Some don't. The depth of experience varies. And so you kind of that people process piece really varies within an organization. And so
Yeah.
it's not consistent, even though maybe they have all the same tools. We have all the same great tools, but the outcomes are quite different between organizations. So this is where, as Microsoft, we can extend our human expertise and really lean in to help customers. And so that's where Defender Experts is, that turnkey solution that we're going to provide our services on top of customers, that, it's just out of the box capability that we're going to provide. And so these are human experts that we're going to deploy in a both hunting fashion. So this is the two offerings I talked about: Defender Experts for hunting, and then Defender Experts for XDR, which is our managed detection and response service. So then, I think, you can kind of take it from there. And so it's really applying our expertise and kind of giving that to the customer, and even offloading a lot of that operational work from a people process perspective on the customers.
Mhm.
So I said a lot there. I'll kind of.
Well, I think you hit something, and I want to highlight this real quick. And Edward's probably going to do the same thing. But the customers that I've worked with, it's always right. So most organizations hire bare bones. We need security. We know it's important, but we're going to hire like 2 or 3 people to cover it. So number one, people is an issue. So when there becomes some scenario where it's more critical, they don't have the skill set, they don't have the people. And then also, obviously the processes are always kind of at fault too, because if your focus is more on the business than securing the business, then obviously those processes kind of go by the wayside, I guess.
Yeah. My thoughts too. Yeah, absolutely. You were saying, Steve, I'm sorry.
I was agreeing totally.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
there we go. Okay, we're done. Very good.
So You said a bunch of things, and I know people are tooling in their head right now. You said SOC. You said extend out the security personnel by helping. You said uh, first vendor offering. But what people probably are fixating on is now they're going to ask the question if it hasn't already popped up in the chat. So is Microsoft acting as an MSSP now?
Yeah. So that word MSSP, I think most of our customers that we talk to have some sort of managed service, and specifically MSSP, for those don't know, is managed security service provider, right? And so traditionally there were MSPs who were managed service providers, and that really meant like IT services, right? Like the infrastructure and help desk. But then as security became more of a forefront concern for a lot of organizations, and again, we talked about tooling is not enough. You have to have people. You had organizations looking for specialized vendors who have security expertise, and that started from basic things like, hey, can you just look at the alerts 24/7 and tell me if it's true or not true, right? So that's the other like I think burden that we see with customers is alert fatigue, and we say fatigue not in the just volume, but then in like actual working on alerts that are actual incidents and not a false positive, let's say, and they just end up being like, okay, that was all for nothing, and move on to the next one. So MSSPs, were kind of starting in that realm of like, let's provide some kind of triaging capability. And so that umbrella kind of continued, but then you had kind of the evolution as we went along in the timeline. And that's where triaging and sending alerts over the fence wasn't enough for organizations, because their people, somebody still had to take that ball. Once the ball was handed off, somebody still has to go run with that ball. And customers are, that's still my problem. I don't have people to go run with that ball. And so then you kind of had then it was like asking for more from a service provider, where can you take this alert and not just send it over, but do the investigation? Tell me if it's real or not just stop there, but also respond. Like, help me contain the threat, right? Is this still a threat in my organization that needs to be addressed? Can you help me do that? And that's where you got really more specialized skill set. Like to be able to do that isn't kind of an equal amount of security skill that maybe would take to typically triage an alert. So then you're asking for a more specialized expertise. And that's where managed detection and response providers came about. And so when you ask, like, is Microsoft MSSP, like this MSSP umbrella started to kind of evolve and expand. So then you had traditional MSSPs who are now becoming like MDR vendors, or first you had MDR vendors who sprout up as specialists, but then you had them kind of cross over, say, hey, we'll do triaging, and then vice versa, you had MSSP vendors who were just triaging, say, hey, we'll go deeper for you. And so the category of MSSP is evolving. And so in that umbrella of providing security managed services, Microsoft is definitely in that business. And so whether or not you put us in a certain category or not, I would say it's changing. But for simplicity's sake, you can put us Microsoft as an MXDR vendor or an MDR vendor, first party MDR vendor. And so with that, we're also providing first party threat hunting services as well. And so, yes, MSSP, depending how you want to define it, but yes, we're kind of in that umbrella category, but specifically as an MDR vendor.
Yeah, and that acronym and that moniker is going to evolve. It's the same way that we had to create math to do space travel. The math didn't exist. So I believe that the proper terminology for first level provider is I don't think it's going to be synonymous with MSSP. I think it's going to be a new name, a new way that you approach, especially when the service is coming from the creator of the product, right? If you give me some stuff to brainstorm about,
Well, I would say, like, before there was a typical term, in the market from, MSSP to MDR, and MDR is managed detection and response. And that was really focused around endpoint detection and response security tools. So EDR, so very endpoint focused, EDR focused. And EDR, had capabilities that just didn't, block like an AV does, but then it has like the investigation capabilities, reporting of events and timeline information within a device to do investigations, as well as response. Like, do I need to isolate a machine? And so it'll kind of have that end-to-end investigation lifecycle, built into that tool set. And so when you talked about managed detection response, MDR is very endpoint focused. Microsoft is in a unique position from a tool set perspective, right? And so, we're taking our market leading XDR, which is extended detection and response. So it goes endpoint, but then it really looks at that entire kill chain from end to end, right? So from when you think about, the typical attack kill chain that impacts most organizations, it doesn't start and stop at the endpoint in terms of the threat. It usually starts maybe from an email to a phishing link or a URL or an attachment. User clicks on it, and so then you're kind of encroaching the endpoint, and then from the endpoint, maybe the identity gets compromised, and now you're moving to the identity domain, and then more identities potentially are getting compromised, and then maybe data exfiltration, right? And so you think about like SaaS applications where data could be exfilled out of the organization. So you look across all those domains. That's where extended detection and response tooling capability really came to play. And so Microsoft has Microsoft 365 Defender, which is our XDR platform solution that stitches together. They're great best in breed, right? Like just as a standalone, like Defender for Endpoint, it's a great EDR endpoint protection solution. But as a best in comprehensive end-to-end detection and response, when you kind of combine the email, identity, and cloud applications, Microsoft 365 Defender, we're market leading in this area, and we don't just we engineer it together, right? And I think from a tooling perspective, that's really important for customers to know and everyone to know. So that technology platform, that's what we use to power our end-to-end visibility for our Defender Experts service, for XDR service. So we take that capability of our XDR visibility and really kind of bring about Defender or MDR services for XDR platform. So what Microsoft did, and like you said, Edward, is like this acronym, and like we're creating this as we go. Like MXDR is something that Microsoft really coined and pushed forward. And so like we're pushing that, and we're really kind of because we're in a unique position, I think, to kind of talk through that and really have a better together story where you combine end-to-end visibility with security experts on top of that. So MXDR is something that is something that's again we're talking about it. We're telling customers about it. They're familiar with MDR, but MXDR is it's kind of like, what's that extra X doing right there? And so we kind of talk about how we're unique from a platform perspective to provide that native XDR capability.
So having to cover that the security workloads that you talked about professionally at Microsoft almost since the time I started, my first exposure to Defender Experts was in the MDE portal when you went into advanced features, and if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it was Ask an Expert, Defender Experts, and you could click that button. Is this a natural evolution of that service and feature set that was accessible through the MDE portal?
Yeah, so the Defender for Endpoint portal had a feature under advanced features called Microsoft Threat Experts, right? So for every customer who bought the Defender for Endpoint license, there was a feature that was also included, which was endpoint threat hunting. And this is our used to be known as Microsoft Threat Experts, MTE. And what they did was endpoint threat hunting across the endpoints. And so that service, like you said, was an evolution, or Defender Experts was an evolution from that service. And that service has been around since 2018, 19, I believe. I can't remember exactly. So we've been doing, managed threat hunting for quite some time for our customers, for our MDE customers. And so, yeah, customers can go ahead and submit under advanced features and apply for that feature if they were a Defender for Endpoint customer. Okay. And so, yeah, from there, we just kept iterating, kept growing, expanded that threat hunting visibility across beyond endpoints. And that's where we really can start stitching together new types of threat techniques and tradecraft that are happening across, different customers that we see. And so that visibility really helps us unlock new scenarios that we can start protecting our customers. But yeah, it all started back then from a customer facing product perspective. So yes, it definitely has been growing and evolving since then.
So it seems as though, one second, noisy phone. So it seems that front, Defender Experts for hunting, Defender Experts for MXDR is two distinct services, and you still have that feature in the MDE portal. So sort of like 2.5 products. Is the one that I was first exposed to going to be sunsetted, or is it going to just gradually fold into the Defender Experts for hunting, or is it going to fold into the other one, the Manage XDR?
Yeah. So basically, you could think of them as superseding each other, right? So Defender, the endpoint only hunting, that now we've kind of rebranded the Microsoft Threat Experts for the endpoint hunting. We call it endpoint attack notification. So that's still a service that's included as part of the Defender for Endpoint license. So customers can own that already. After you deploy Defender for Endpoint, just go into your Defender Security Center console, go to advanced features of your Defender endpoint settings, and go ahead and apply. And then, we'll go ahead and kind of review the application. There's some kind of basics review that we do to make sure you have Defender for Endpoint deployed and such. So that's now called endpoint attack notifications. That will continue, right? So where Defender Experts for Hunting kind of takes that and supersedes endpoint attack notifications, it provides threat hunting not just for endpoints, but it provides threat hunting across identities, emails, and cloud applications. So now we're doing a lot of more correlation across different entities, right? And so then the value there across, email hunting on emails and let's say, business email compromise or phishing or things like identity compromise, or even correlating all of those different signals. So even taking low fidelity signals across those different domains by itself may seem benign, but then our analysts, our hunters who kind of stitch those events together can all of a sudden determine, hey, there is a progression of attack that's happening in this organization. So Defender Experts for Hunting really starts to elevate and supersedes the endpoint attack notification. Now, threat hunting is great. I think where we obviously provide value for customers and where a lot of their pain point is, a lot of the FTEs, if you will, the internal, SOC team spends a lot of their time is triaging the product alerts. And that's where Defender Experts for XDR really then kind of supersedes Defender Experts for Hunting, because that's going to be included for Defender Experts for XDR. That provides the 24/7 monitoring, triage, investigation, and response across all of the products within the Defender stack. And so we'll also do the proactive threat hunting as well to look for things that, adversaries are trying to evade the product detections, but the core work, right? The bulk of that work that's being kind of funneled into the SOC team, Microsoft is taking over that in our Defender Experts for XDR service. So they kind of supersede, but then nest within each other. So endpoint attack notifications will not go away, but those customers who own MDE, I encourage them to go ahead and go turn that feature on. And it's simply turning it on, and then we review the application on the back end. And then, the turnaround time is not too long, but I think that's a great start. And then, when you do see opportunity to expand the threat hunting capability across just beyond endpoints, then you start looking into Defender Experts for Hunting. And one other thing I didn't kind of mention is that customers may have a question, right, about when they're investigating an alert. And it's not a product break fix question, meaning like, hey, there's an MDE sensor, it's not working. I've been troubleshooting it. My IT people are working in it. I turned it off, turned it on, uninstalled. I can't figure it out. Like, that's a product support question that customers should be able to fully ask. But then sometimes there's a Defender for Endpoint, let's say, alert, and maybe it's a suspicious PowerShell, execution, right? But the analyst who's looking at that is not too experienced to know, how do I read this alert? What do I take away from this alert? I don't understand. And so they may have a question that is pertained to someone who's a security practitioner, like an analyst. Defender Experts for Hunting includes a feature called Ask Defender Experts, or Experts on Demand, where they can open a reactive, basically a phone a friend, think of it that way. But this isn't a product support. It's someone who's a security practitioner on the Defender Expert side. And so for those types of personas within a customer organization who want to reach out to a Microsoft security practitioner, they can do that as part of the Defender Experts for Hunting service as well. So that's another kind of reason to kind of think beyond like endpoint attack notification. Endpoint hunting is great. And then expanding the threat hunting purview across multiple domain signals, but then also having that phone a friend or bidirectional communication with a Microsoft Threat Hunter, like that's also value to a customer. We've seen customers really kind of want that type of resource on the other side from a Microsoft perspective. And so that's the other way to think about it.
I like that phone a friend thing. Other than just contacting Edward, how do customers get access to this? I mean, is there like some prerequisites? You're talking about all the Defender products,
Yeah.
right? Defender for everything. And then what do they have to have? How do they engage? And what's the process like? So a customer goes from seem like they're managing everything, but all of a sudden they realize they're just out of their realm and they need to contact Microsoft. What's that process like? How quickly can Microsoft take over?
Yeah, so without getting into, because I was in the field and I was a seller too for majors and strategic customers as well, and I think for those groups of customers who do have dedicated Microsoft account teams, definitely reach out to those account teams, or reach out to your account team if you're a major or strategic customer, and I would be surprised if you don't know who they are, but I won't you know, I don't want to flood Edward's box, but that's how to, how to reach Edward.
It's fine.
Um,
Flood it all the
Well,
way.
he has goals. He has things he has to meet this quarter.
yeah, you gotta put food on the table, right? You gotta,
Sure.
get going
Um,
this year. But yeah, so if you go to, and so I'll kind of tell you where to go from there. But on the prerequisite side, so you may think about like, am I a good candidate? Like, should I be looking into this service, or what are the requirements that I would want to have or need to think about? Right? Is it just buy this Defender Experts thing and I'm good to go? So, like I mentioned before, like our visibility, the Defender Experts service is built on the capabilities of Defender Experts or Microsoft 365 Defender, or sorry, technology platform. So if you have Defender for Endpoint, at least, if you have more, that's awesome. We welcome that. I think that's going to even simplify, the technology estate that you have in there. It's going to give us better capability, visibility from a services perspective, and so from a remediation perspective, that's going to be even better because maybe there's multiple assets that need to be remediated or countermeasured. Maybe it's a user that needs to be password reset, so on and so forth. And so the more visibility, the better. But if you're a customer who has Defender for Endpoint, I think you're a great candidate for Defender Experts for XDR. If you are a customer who's using Defender for Identity, which is our on-premises UEBA, User Entity Behavior Analytics tool that looks at your Active Directory traffic, who doesn't still have Active Directory, right? So Defender for Identity looks at those deterministic types of threats, as well as, more like behavior based and kind of determining anomalies. All that traffic on-prem AD, that's, once attackers are in the environment, you got to have visibility and signal there. So our Defender Experts team will take in those signals as well. So again, the more Defender products you have deployed, the better visibility that our team will be, and take basically opportunity to consolidate your tooling, your platforming, as well as having more comprehensive end-to-end visibility on that attack kill chain that I talked about. So again, Defender for Endpoint, if you have it, that's a great spot to be in. If you have more, Defender for Identity, Defender for Cloud Apps, and Defender for Office 365, I'll kind of just plug all those pieces in there. That's our visibility. That's our capability that our Defender Experts will do. Now, once you have those products deployed, one of those things that you may not, let's say, I'll kind of even talk about, like, if you do have it deployed, you may say, okay, what do I have to do to get, Defender Experts to come in? Do they have to like take logs, ship them out? Do they have to, is there this, drawn out process or what have you? And so one of the ways we engineered this is we want this to be as turnkey as possible. So we want the enablement to be as seamless as possible to customers. So from a IT architecture, security architecture perspective, there's not API plumbing and integrations that customers need to do. It's simply a license that gets applied to their tenant. And then we just on the back end will get access, our analysts will get back access to all the incidents and alerts from the Microsoft 365 Defender. And we are working on those same incidents that you see as a customer in your Microsoft 365 Defender console. And so the idea here is to be as turnkey as possible with as quick to value as you want. Now, those customers who aren't yet deployed on Defender Experts for or Defender for Endpoint or any of the Defender products. And so what we do too, as part of our Defender Experts for XDR service, I didn't mention this enough, is we assign a service delivery manager. And that's a key resource because they're the trusted advisor or face of the service. So yes, we have our analysts, but we also have somebody who's going to be with you along the way from the day a customer is onboarded throughout until the term of that contract. And if you keep it indefinitely, the service delivery manager will be with you until then. And some of the things they do, especially on the beginning side, is really help kind of onboard the customer and look at your deployment plan. Let's say you're not deployed on Defender for Endpoint, you have to migrate from something. And so they'll be there to really advise the customer on how to configure Defender for Endpoint. What are all the policies that you need to be sent? Because if Defender Experts is going to take responsibility for the security operations of that, of that customer, we have recommendations and best practices of how we want, let's say, Defender for Endpoint configured. So our service delivery manager is there from lock and step with the customer to help them get Defender for Endpoint on that particular in the environment, right? We won't go there and actually get on keyboards and deploy, the sensor and things like that. But again, sometimes customers have that capability. They just need to know what policies do I need to go set, or what is this policy in Defender for Endpoint that does this, or Defender for Office 365. So those are some of the gaps that the service delivery manager helps. And then the service delivery manager provides a ton more value to the customer as they get into the service and they're operational in the service. And happy to talk more about that. And so, depending on your journey as a customer, you're either using the Defender product, you're not using the Defender product. I think Defender Experts XDR customers, again, those customers who are looking for 24/7 coverage to monitor, triage, investigate your alerts, and as well as that alert fatigue element, right? I think a lot of these products provide some level of alert fatigue because and that's a function of either the number of assets that are in your environment or the security posture in the environment. But nevertheless, there's maybe more alerts than a customer SOC team would want to deal with. And so this is, again, where we can help provide value. Defender Experts can help provide value. And again, the coverage across the tech kill chain that's impacting most organizations, that end to end, is really where we want to start driving those outcomes of protecting the organization like holistically. And so, hopefully I kind of help. And then I have like maybe a link or something that I can share with you guys to learn more. And we kind of make it as simple as possible to go.
So is this kind of an all or nothing? So today I'm a Defender Experts customer, or can organizations call you in when they need help and then go about their own business after you're gone, type of thing? I get it that sometimes customers are like, we're just overwhelmed, and then we need somebody for a short period of time. Maybe that's a partner. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that transient type of use case where we just need to fill a gap and kind of ramp us up, and then we're good. I think we're still figuring out those use cases. I think there is a fit for that. It really needs to align to the customer's strategy for their SOC. Do they plan on building it in-house as much as possible? Do they want the expertise to reside in-house or out of house, right? And so kind of outsource. And so I think really alignment in the SOC strategy with the customer is really important because, like you said, it could be transient, or it could be something that, hey, this is our strategy. Like I've seen this with customers is from an external in point of view, Microsoft, you can have that covered, right? And not just from an outside in, from a visibility standpoint, because Defender 365, like we talked about, has comprehensive end-to-end coverage. So we kind of can see the inside of there from a visibility standpoint. What I mean from an outside in perspective is the business context. What are the high value assets? What are the high value users, right? How do you guys make your money? Like, what are those operating systems or servers that can't go down for a second, right? Or else tons of revenue are being impacted. And what's normal, what's anomalous from a business activity standpoint. So that's what I mean from an outside in perspective. And so customers be like, Microsoft, you can handle the outside in perspective. From the inside, like we will hire a keen amount of staff to be experts on our environment, right? And so when we need to collaborate on things that require additional context and how our organization is structured, or what assets are where, or how are they classified as such, that's where our teams can work together. So and that they can do that in perpetuity, right? In terms of, hey, this is how we're going to operate, and we don't have to in the future budget to hire more people, for example, because again, that's the whole idea, is being able to augment that cost of hiring, resources and moving that to, an outsource or more manageable from a budgeting perspective, right? So it really depends on those
Well, and
specific
sometimes it's not just bodies. Sometimes it's expertise.
expertise.
We
Yeah.
can hire 10 people, but if we just bring Microsoft in, who are the experts, we can hire one person and teach them how to do it or something.
You're right. I mean, that expertise component is really critical to that customers. Yeah, need to like also like that's the pain sometimes, right? Where you like, oh, I have budget to hire 5 people, but 5 people at what level, right? And so then you're kind of tasked with training them, and it takes a long time to ramp them, and then they get trained, and what do they want to do? They want to stay there.
They want to bolt.
Yeah.
Exactly what they want to do. And I was about to say it, these type of services help mitigate, which is another risk. I've talked about it on the show, the risk of skill attrition. You get a highly skilled person, and everybody's on LinkedIn, everybody's updating their profile. Someone goes, I want that person. Now you have a risk because that mind share, and it's generally your mid and senior level individuals, right? Nobody's going to take one of your entry levels and immediately offer them all this money, but as their skills mature, you run the risk of having to consider that. If you're a CISO or somebody, if you're not putting it as one of your vectors, you're gonna have that problem. Hey, Brody joined.
Go ahead.
It's a drive-by Brody day. I can't say that too quick.
Oh yeah, sorry about that noise in the conference room.
Well, we lost Ed. He's on mute. Hold on. No, you're on mute. It was going to be a good question. I could just tell.
Oh, you're still on mute.
Important question.
Well,
sorry about that.
Talking to somebody on that couch who's not
I'm actually in the conference room. I'm glad nobody's going to go watch the audio. But we were just talking about attrition and how services like this help mitigate that security risk. That should be part of your operational security risk. Will I lose my people? Will someone come in and pay Brody $2 more and he's going to leave? And yeah, Brody will leave for $2 and a Klondike bar. Leave.
Yeah.
Yes, the Klondike bar.
So I want to go back and check everything that Steve has said. There seems to be two distinct major products. We still have the Defender experts, Ask a Defender experts. And Rod asked the question, but I think the way I would want to ask it is, you said all in, he went in as a seasonal service. I'm thinking if you wanted to do what a customer says, just tell us what's happening. We have the skill set to remediate it, but we can't watch everything. That seems to be Defender experts for hunting. If you want that and you want someone to insert themselves into your incident response and notification, then that's Defender experts for managed XDR. You don't have to have both at the same time. You can, if I understand this correctly, Steve, you can use one because you're saying that my people are capable, we just understaffed, or you can use both to say our people are capable, and we don't want to manage it because we got so many other security concerns. Am I phrasing that right? You can find what fits well for your customers.
Yeah. So I think typically when you talk about like threat hunting in a SOC, in the context of a SOC organization, threat hunting is more of a level 3 function. It's a luxury. It's an advanced function. It's not the commodity tier 1. Let me triage. Let me run through a playbook and kind of determine if this is true or false. Like, so threat hunting, Defender experts threat hunting really is an advanced functionality within an organization. Customers may have a kind of point in time threat hunting that they do. They may do compromise assessments. They might do monthly type of threat hunting, but this is really thinking about 24/7 nonstop, give me the second pair of eyes, that I need for my team, and to be able to then call out things that maybe we might miss. And just because Microsoft has a tremendous amount of signal and visibility, like the optics, the clarity that we have on that threat landscape is quite unique because of that. apply that intelligence to my data, right? And so again, that's 24/7 nonstop. So that's most organizations who do opt for that is again looking for that second pair of eyes and also asking defender experts that phone a friend capability. So hey, the threat hunting is awesome. Threat hunting, calling out, that undetected type of threat in my organization that maybe I might miss or may, dwell longer. That threat may dwell longer in my organizations because without this. But then also my day-to-day job, the other SOC functions, which is the investigation, the triaging, investigation, the response. I hit a wall at times. I may have a people who are, medium, pretty decent expertise in my organizations, but everybody hits a wall. I would love to be able to just call somebody who's more senior than me, who has more expertise than me as a practitioner, and then ask them a question and then help me unblock this, or break down this wall that I'm kind of hitting up against. And so defender experts expertise is really great because it has the proactive threat hunting and it has the reactive ask defender experts functionality built into it as well. So those are for those customers, I think, who just kind of fit that use case. The other like customers who then you kind of like when you say all or nothing, that could be one customer or type of customer kind of fits that bill. But a lot of customers, I think, where their pain point too is today is in the detection or the managed detection and response or managed extended detection and response. That's because all the work that's coming in front of the SOC is all the alerts that are coming off the products. That's where a bulk of the work is, right? I don't need, well, I'm not diminishing, but I don't need another alert from a hunter to send me, here's another go thing to go look at, right? They're looking at all this other stuff that they have in their environment. And I'm totally kind of simplifying it, but it's kind of like the mass of where the pain points are within customers is I have so many alerts. I can't even do 24/7. I have to do 8 to 5, and then I got to do pager and prioritize the rest. Based off severity of the alert, and even then, I'm maybe getting waking up people, that are, weren't really, that high, that high of a classification, that was real. Let's say, for example. So that's the problem. So they're still dealing with that. And so Defender Experts for XDR is the managed detection and response service that really tackles that problem of that 24/7, alleviating the alert fatigue and really looking at it across all the entities that are typically, impacting organizations, that's email, endpoint, identities, and cloud applications. So that's where it's like the most value that again CISOs are being burdened with, when they're staffing a SOC, it's like looking through like who is in monitoring, investigating, triage, and responding to all these alerts that are hitting my organization. The tools are set up there to detect all this stuff and do blocking and tackling. And it's all a waste if there's not a human watching that around the clock with expertise and basically providing expert investigation and prescriptive response actions to again stop the threat, right? As you kind of see the threat occurring, let's say across the attack kill chain, as it gets deeper and deeper and deeper organization, the quicker an analyst, a human, can pick up those early indicators, alerts from the products, and the quicker investigate to respond, the better chance you're not going to have issues or a breach or compromise within the organization. So again, that human element we talked about, the tools, people process piece, that's where the people process part is really kind of a burden to organizations because of all the alerts that they're getting. So well, I know like I said a lot there, but Edward, hopefully, for me, like you have to do all of it. Can you do some of it? We can have those conversations with customers, and I would say like the Defender Experts for XDR, which is our managed detection and response service. That's where it's really clear. Like, hey, man, I'm struggling here. I don't I have too many alerts. I don't have the people to do this all the time. I'm trying to run a business here, right? And the security is just one of those things that we got to deal with. But I'm struggling from a just operations perspective.
So here's a question with a little subtext. You had mentioned earlier that when you go into an organization and they have all the Defender things deployed, you have such a much easier job, right? Defender experts. Have you ever gone into a customer and obviously they've purchased D5, but they only have Defender for Endpoint deployed, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, if you would have only had this, we could have probably done this job in like half the time or something like that. Does this also kind of help organizations? Are you able to help them understand that they do need to deploy that other stuff like Defender for Identity?
Yeah, I think one of the things too is our service delivery managers. So I mentioned they're a resource that is part of the Defender Experts for XDR solution. Is they're not just they're not just helping you, let's say, onboard. They're also experts in the technology, right? So they can also introduce new opportunities to customers to maximize the value of their investment. You said E5, which is a licensing kind of vehicle for Microsoft customers to purchase all like the Defender products we've been talking about. But yeah, if you're only deploying one of those Defender products, service delivery manager will quickly start to ask customer questions about like how come what are you doing for your email security solutions, right? What are you doing for your Azure Active Directory identity signals, and as well as Azure Active Directory, and so I think that's the piece that you always have a trusted advisor to help you along in terms of maximizing the value in your state. And more than ever, I see customers, CIOs and executives who are looking at that level, especially in the economic conditions that we're in, is like maximizing the value of Defender, or the Defender platform, the E5, if you as you call it, like
Right.
maximize that. And so that's where Defender Experts, our service delivery manager, really brings that expertise to help educate customers of like, hey, MD is great, but did you know about Defender for Identity, Defender for Clouds? Because you guys own it, right? It's like, oh, tell me more. And so that's where our service delivery managers really
Well,
shine.
yeah, and I say E5 because that's for now, that's like everything until they come out with E7 or E whatever. Um, but from that perspective, there's a lot of companies that, you talked about the economy and the way things are kind of progressing now, trying to get more with less. There's a lot of companies, 2 or 3 years ago, they like bought everything, right?
Yeah.
I'm just buying E5. I want to be covered. But then it's not the CISO that deploys these things, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think knowing who those stakeholders, each customer is going to be a little bit different depending on their size and organization structure. It's sometimes sister, units within organizations, and so the service delivery manager is searching out on the customer side who are these stakeholders, that we need to get involved here. I think that they smooth out that experience for customers, that oftentimes block customers and say, okay, well, I only know like this much and this is my responsibility, but this other piece, that's another team, they're responsible for this and that. But really kind of the experience of Defender Experts is really driven and kind of managed by the service delivery manager to make sure there's always a face. It's not just a Microsoft logo that they pick up a 1-800 number call. Like there's a face and a body to the service that they get to know and experience. And that's
Like
sometimes
like
what
like
customers
Brody's our mascot. Yeah.
Or Clippy picks up the phone. Be cool.
There you
That'd be
go.
cool.
Clippy.
I,
Clippy
I I have
2.0.
one more question unless Brody has something. And see,
I
that's what you
was
get for
going
showing up
to.
late. I'm just kidding.
I know I'm terrible. I'm sorry, everybody. Won't happen again. Hopefully,
Yeah,
I
it
was
will.
going to build on your question, and I just want to say I agree that if you're already looking at a comprehensive licensing model for capabilities and solutions with Microsoft, like the E5 stack or whatever, it's silly to not at least go and look and see how the other capabilities and solutions can augment maybe your initial project. And I see this time and time again. There's tons of value. There's reductions in technical debt. There's the ability to consolidate tooling, and there's going to be niches in every platform, every provider's solutions, and there may be situations where you want to pick another solution over a Microsoft solution. That's your prerogative. It's your business. It's your organization. But I strongly think that if you're invested deeply in the overall the E5, so to speak, or E3 licensing models, that you should absolutely look at enabling as much as you can. We want layered defense. We want defense in depth. We want to ensure that we have broad coverage across all of these different zero trust pillars. So from someone who's got boots on the ground right now in a number of these things, I just got to say, absolutely go take a look at that. You're just not getting the full value out of what you have if you are not today. So that's all.
Well, and that's another benefit, I guess, for Defender Experts is they'll come in and say, "Hey, you don't have this deployed." That's yeah.
Yeah, no, it's that connecting those dots. Like how many times have we gone to customers and they don't know that
Yeah.
what they own, right? And it's like
You almost need to have somebody sit down. It's like a budget. Here's our budget. Here's what we actually own. Oh my goodness, we're not even using this thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's a
they're
good point.
all like they're excellent products. Like that's a part. I think one of the things like
Yeah.
we're not in the business of trading alerts. Like I don't want to trade a vendor one for a vendor two alert, right? Those are commodity things, right? It's like really then how do you then apply, like we said, there's tools, people, and process. The people process are the other big kind of leveraging components of to generating the ultimate outcome, which is protect my organization, stop the threat, right? Like that's stop the threat, stop the threat. Like tools don't, typically stop the threat by themselves. They'll stop portions of the threat, right? But you still need that human expertise, and that's where bringing defender experts completes that operational and then ultimately completes the value. Not just deploying the product is value, right? Like that's not the outcome. Deploying, like how many MDE licenses get deployed or endpoints, it's not value to the customer. It's like you got to add the other variables, which is the people process piece to really create that value for the customer. Have that
Agreed.
outcome approach.
Well stated. Well stated.
Well, we're right about at the end. Edward has left us already. He's busy doing his stuff. So, and Brody's here. So it's almost like, it was a 1-for-1.
It was a
We did
tag
pretty
in,
well.
like a wrestling match. Tag out. We're
Yeah,
all
but
good.
Steve, I truly appreciate you coming on. I think I had mentioned this before we went live, but I'll kind of allude to it here just a little bit. This is a new service. I remember when I first learned about this sometime last year, I thought this was going to be great because I know a lot of the folks that have been working through a lot of this for a long time and
Yeah.
really smart. And as it says, they're experts. And I think this is going to be huge. Is there anything, Steve, that you would like to tell more about this product? Maybe you think you might have missed or something that customers should absolutely know.
Yeah, I think like if you go to your favorite search engine and just type in Defender Experts, you'll
Yeah.
definitely be able to learn more. And go ahead and there's so much information out there. It's new, but then the amount of like collateral that's out there, videos on YouTube and so on, it's out there. We were at RSA, we're at Black Hat recently. So they'll be the drum will continue to beat. And so if you can't find anything, feel free to reach out. I don't know how typically, folks on, the audience would reach out, but like I said, the easiest way is go on your search engine, type in Defender Experts or Microsoft Defender Experts, and Hunting and XDR will both pop up, right? You'll get documentations, you'll get, blogs and success stories and all types of good things. And do it in YouTube too, like on our Microsoft Security channel. Things will come up as well. So
Or just
like
send Edward an email and ask for a price
Yeah.
list. Yeah.
Send
Exactly.
every lead to Edward.
I
And
think
exactly.
that's
He needs it. He needs it.
that's the approach. Yeah, no, definitely, and just know that it's really the human expertise that are driving the service, right? I think as Microsoft customers may think, or maybe the impression is like, hey, you guys are AI ML company, and that's kind of what you're doing here, but it's really behind the scenes. We're doing all the work on behalf of customers, and so that's the key elements. There's like eyes, there's human eyes that are behind the scenes, the human expertise, intelligence.
Well, and I think it's important. And I think that's really what we wanted to do, at least with this topic tonight and have you on, Steve, is just kind of drive awareness for this. Because like I was kind of alluding to a little bit earlier, even people on internal that I've talked to even this week, right? They're like, I don't even know what this thing is. I don't know what this service is. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh, you need to come to the show on Wednesday night. Now you'll know, right? So
now there's something that they can go, watch and be that much
Okay.
smarter.
Will you all have something going on at Microsoft Ignite potentially?
I hope so. I think we were talking about that earlier. So
Yeah.
we are, let me,
So I'm telling folks they need to register early or register quickly for Microsoft Ignite. The in-person experience this year, it's a Seattle first experience. So make sure you get there quick. There's a pre-day, and I'm sure we're going to talk to Defender for Experts even during that pre-day. So if you're interested in this or just interested in the security stack in general and all those Defender products we talk about, Ignite is the place to be in person. Obviously, you can do things remote, but in person is going to be a much better experience this year. It's going to be awesome. So, And you mentioned Black Hat as well, Steve. We have one of my teammates, Sarah Young, is going to be on the show next week talking about trying to give reasons why people should go to Black Hat. Isn't that funny? I'm just talking about everybody should go to Ignite, and next week we're going to talk about Black Hats.
I want to go next year
Hey,
to
you
Black
should just
Hat.
get in front of people. I think that's what we're all missing, right? Just
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. We need that. We need that human touch, that human interaction. Yeah.
It's
yeah,
great.
more than we know. Now we know.
And buffet lines for sandwiches. I mean, who doesn't miss that? Swag at conferences. Come on.
Did they bring buffet lines back? Because one of my favorite restaurants, they took the salad bar away during COVID and it never came back, and that just made me terribly sad.
Well, Rod, that makes me sad too. There's nothing like going up and loading up on more croutons and bacon bits than you
Oh, yeah.
figure you would normally need. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right, Steve. Thank you so much, Brody. It's good to see you, and
Thanks for having me.
talk to everyone next week.
Thanks,
Good luck.
Steve.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.